Hello and welcome back to London Cycle Routes. Today I'll be showing you how to cycle from Westminster in central London to Wandsworth Town in southwest London. This ride takes about half an hour and you can do the whole thing on quiet streets and protected cycle lanes. As you can see from this screen here, doing this journey by public transport would probably take about 40 to 45 minutes, so you can save a bit of time by cycling it as well. If you find this video useful or you just enjoy watching it, then do make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel on YouTube, as I try to post new videos just like it every week. Alright, let's get going. So we're starting on Millbank and at the top of Lambeth Bridge, and we are going past Thames House on our right there. That's the MI5 headquarters. And the first thing we're going to be doing for the start of this ride is actually following the start of Cycle Superhighway 8, which is a Transport for London signposted route. And CS8, as it's called, used to be quite bad. When it was built, it was mostly just paint on the road, but it's actually been upgraded with these protective wands here, which mostly keep us separated from motor traffic. Now, there are a couple of bits still where it's not separated from traffic. You saw we just went through one, and we're about to go into another bit here where we're actually in a massive bus lane. This is like a double width bus lane. I think this lane is so wide, and it's only for a short period of time, that it's actually fine to cycle in. It's not as good as a proper separated infrastructure, but I think just for a short period here, it's okay. We come up to this junction of Vauxhall Bridge Road, and if you were to go left here, you would go over Vauxhall Bridge to Vauxhall, but we're going to go straight on. So we're essentially going dead west along the Thames, and you can see this lane is just painted here, but in a second it's going to become protected, and actually pretty much for the whole time we're going to be staying on CS8 now, it's really well protected with these wands, and I think they've done a really good job actually. So it used to be just a painted lane, and then since the start of the pandemic, it was one of the first things that TfL upgraded. They put in extra protection to make this kind of a proper cycle route, and you basically have the same thing on the other side of the road. It's pretty symmetrical. There are a couple of gaps, but I think they're mostly not a problem. And you can see here, even though there's quite heavy traffic on that road, big coaches and vans and lorries and stuff, it doesn't really bother us at all because we're basically separated from it. I particularly like this bit on our right here where a loading bay and parking has basically been integrated into the protection. It actually makes us feel even more separated from traffic, the fact that there's that parking bay there. The easiest and best way to improve this lane would actually be to extend it at its eastern end. So if it connected to Parliament Square, it would be even more useful, and that's actually why I started the video at Lambeth Bridge, just because I wanted to start at the beginning of the protected lane. But generally it's pretty good. It's certainly a massive improvement on what came before. Some of the bus stops as well could be tweaked to so that the lane goes behind the bus stop, because that's often a lot safer. But yeah, generally I think no one's going to have a problem cycling down this. It's generally a really good route now, at least for the bit that we're going to be using. There are bits of CS8 further down that are not as good, and I'll point them out when we get there, and we'll avoid them using a different route, so don't worry too much. Now, we're coming up to Chelsea Bridge here, and it's very easy for us to turn left onto it, but if you were coming in the opposite direction, it's a little bit more confusing. What you would do if you were coming out of that bridge on the left is you would actually go forward and then turn left, and then turn around and wait for the light. It's quite difficult to explain what you do, but if you want a demonstration of it, you can watch the Richmond Park to Westminster video where I go on Chelsea Bridge in the opposite direction, and it shows you. It's really quite counterintuitive, but it does work. Now you might notice we're on a protected lane on Chelsea Bridge here. We have one in this direction. In the other direction on the bridge there's only a bus lane, but it's not a very heavily used bus lane, and I think just for the short section of the bridge it's probably the best way to go. We do have a lane on this road, a protected lane all the way down. On the other side of the road, there's not a protected lane with wands, but there is a cycle track on the pavement that you can use, and that will keep you separated from the other traffic. That's not ideal. It'll keep you safe, but it's not nice to be cycling on the pavement really, even if you are allowed to. And you can see a couple of people using the carriageway there. And I think there are plans afoot to basically put proper lanes on this road, and they'll be welcome when they come in. I think the borough and TfL are working together to do that. This roundabout is alright. In a sense, it's good because it keeps you separated from the motor traffic, but it's not a proper kind of Dutch style roundabout in that you basically have to wait at the lights every time you cross an arm of the junction, which, although it's quite quick in this video because I have cut out the wait, it actually takes quite a long time, so it'll be better. This road that we're on here, Prince of Wales Drive, is probably the worst road that we go on for the entire video. You can actually avoid it, so instead of doing that whole thing on Queenstown Road and using that roundabout, you could actually go through Battersea Park and then turn into Macduff Road here. The only reason I didn't do that is because Battersea Park's not 24-hour, although it does shut pretty late. I think it shuts about 10:30 in the evening and opens about 6:30, so maybe that's actually a better way to go. If you wanted to do that, you would enter Battersea Park just after Chelsea Bridge, and then you would cycle through there and join at Macduff Road. Now, we've left the Cycle Superhighway 8 route now because that just goes on big roads without very much protection at all. And what we're going to do instead is we're going to pick a backstreet route, and it goes through all these estates. It's quite quiet, and it's much better. It's actually probably a bit quicker because there's no waiting at lights, and I think you'll like it. So let's go down here. What we do is we start by making our way to this path that runs alongside the West Mainline, the railway line on the left here. You can see, well, you can't really see in the video, but when you're here you can hear and you can see Southwestern Railway trains kind of roaring down the viaduct to your left. And we're just here on this nice path without any traffic. You can see from the blue and white signs that it's a shared space with pedestrians, so do be careful and don't go too quickly if there's any pedestrians around you or anything like that. Don't scare anybody. And then you come out here onto this road. Now, although there are a lot of twists and turns on this section of the route, one way to remember it is we're actually following an old London Cycle Network route called London Cycle Network 37, and to be honest, it's pretty well signposted. All you've got to do is follow the blue cycle signs that occasionally pop up with 37 written on them. So you can see there's one on the right there, and then there's another sign here pointing left. There are a couple of places where there aren't good signs. There's another one, but I will point them out for you when we go past them. For those that don't know, London Cycle Network actually dates back to 1981, and it was sort of all through the 80s and 90s, this attempt to put a cycle network here. By the way, the sign there is behind a tree, so it's quite easy to miss that one into Reform Street. But yeah, so there were all these old London Cycle Network signs, and to be honest, they were mostly just signposts. There wasn't very much infrastructure on them. They didn't make too much of an effort to go down quiet streets in most cases. But LCN 37 is actually a bit of an exception. It's actually pretty good. You can see we're running mostly on streets without any through traffic on them, so they're often very quiet. And when it comes to main roads, there is some provision for crossing them. So you probably wouldn't build it like this today, but it does the job. So you go on this bit of shared space pavement and you just wait for the toucan crossing, and you can see there's a bike symbol on the crossing, so this is all for cycles, and you just follow it down here. And it kind of does the job, and it puts you onto this really quite nice cycle path into Falcon Park. I mean, the surface isn't amazing, but yeah, it does the job. And I think you'd probably... Today you'd probably call this a quiet way, this kind of route. It's a load of quiet back streets connected up by smart bits of infrastructure. What we're going through here, by the way, is a school street, so at rush hour that road is closed to motor traffic. Not all day, but just at rush hour. This little turning here into Wayford Street, by the way, is not very well signposted. I couldn't see any signposts for it at all, in fact, so make sure you don't miss that one. And this little path here also, you can see the little blue shared space sign. That's another bit that I would modernise. Maybe you remove a parking space or change the surface, just make it a little bit more obvious. But generally, I do think this is quite a nice little route, or a quiet way, as we'd say. And you can see there's the 37 signs. Some of the signage could do with modernisation, and yeah, some of the paths could do with widening. Some of the crossings could do with updating. But it probably wouldn't take that much effort to make it a really nice modern route. Here's a bit of a clapped out old bit. You wouldn't do a cycle path on the pavement like that now. look at that. It's really narrow. You can barely pass people on it, but it kind of does the job. And maybe if someone from the council would have a look at it and update it, maybe this route could get even better. I think it's pretty good as it is. Now, we're just approaching Clapham Junction station here. This is the back of Clapham Junction. You may not be that familiar with it, but if you need to go to Clapham Junction station, then this is the way to go from central London. And yes, this is probably a good time to note that if you were in any doubt before, Clapham Junction station is absolutely nowhere near Clapham. It's very much in Battersea. So we turn off right to here, down Winstanley Road, and be on the lookout for a slightly hidden entrance on the left here. It sort of takes you into a kind of a shared pedestrian plaza, and you can see this is the right way. There's that reassuring blue 37 byte symbol leading us up there. And by the way, if you do find this video useful, then make sure you subscribe to the channel and do like it, because it helps other people find it as well. If you're having trouble following these twists and turns, then I would recommend looking in the description underneath this video, because I've put a link to a website called Komoot, where I've uploaded a digital map of the video, and you can of this route, and you can download the map as a GPS file, and you can either use it in Komoot, or you can use it on a different app, or you can use it in whatever device you use. So having that map will make following this little twisty turny bit down LCN 37 a little bit easier. But I think the signage is just about right. You can probably do this without a map, to be honest. I tend not to use GPS maps. Now, this bit I wasn't expecting, actually. They're actually redoing the path under this bridge, so it was a bit of a diversion when I was here. But hopefully by the time you get to this spot, that path there should be nicely done and a little bit easier to cycle down. But for now, it was a little bit of a bodge job. But yeah, we're still following those blue signs. And if you're following on the map, although there are some twists and turns, it's actually not that difficult to work out where you're going. Like you're mostly just going in a straight line, and I think it's actually faster than going down the main road, because if you go down the main road, you end up having to wait at a lot of traffic lights. Whereas here, this is nicely done. This bit here, I really like this, a sort of a path coming out onto a filtered street. And yeah, that's probably the first car that we've run into in a while, actually. There's really not very much traffic on this route at all, so I think it's a genuinely really decent route. There's a couple of bits where it could do with improving, but generally it's alright. Now, we're coming out here, and that's Wandsworth Town Station on the right here, so I promised that we would go to Wandsworth Town, and we are here. I'm just going to show you down Old York Road, which I think is really nice. It was recently closed by Wandsworth Council, closed to motor traffic, and they've put a lot of outdoor dining here on the right, and you can cycle down it, shared space for pedestrians. It's really, really good, I think. I really hope this becomes permanent. It's a lot nicer than it was before. And I'm just going to turn around and I'm going to show you a little bit of the outdoor dining. And you can have a little look around. I definitely recommend coming here and having a coffee or something to eat. Actually, I stopped and had something to eat after I filmed this video. But yeah, thanks very much for watching that, guys, and see you again next time, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. But yeah, thank you very much, and I hope that was useful. Goodbye.